Bally Sports Live presents Path to the Show with Prospects Live.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Path to the Show on Bally Sports Live and Stadium. We are your hosts, your friends, your boys, starting with me, Drew Wheeler, and with me as always, the free-range human, the face of baseball media, the pro scouting director at Prospects Live, Reese B. White. Reese, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great. We've had a lot going on in baseball. We had college baseball that was pretty intense this weekend, and now we're here to talk about some minor league ball and what's going on with prospects.
Busy weekend, college regionals. We're headed into super regionals. We've got minor league ball heating up. We've got prospects finally making their long-awaited debut, and we have got a loaded show for you at home as well. But before we get to that, I want to tell you $5 a month, as low as $5 a month, can get you a membership to prospectslive.com, where you can find all of the best things across the internet to make your baseball fandom even better. We've got live looks. We've got dynasty fantasy lists. We've got things about your card hobby. We've got live looks, all kinds of things you can use, and we advise you to check it out to see some work from Reese, to see some work from me. But without too much further ado, Reese, let's get right into it. Let's talk about some of the things going on in baseball, shall we? Jac Caglianone. Sound the hallelujah chorus, buddy. We have been heard yet again. Jac Cags called up to the majors. Top prospect, a divisive prospect. Reese, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. What is the current DM count for people messaging you about your old takes with Jac Cags as of recording?
I think it's about 6, which is a lot more than it should be. It should be 0, but that's a different discussion entirely.
It is. Off of that discussion, let's talk about Cags a little more and less about the angry DMs. Hitting 319, 370, 723. That's an OPS of 1094 in 12 games with AAA Omaha. We said it over a couple different shows, man. What really was Caglianone learning? What did the Royals not see? Were they just waiting for his uniforms to come back with the correct stitching? I'm not sure. Alas, the problem has been solved. 15 homers, 56 RBI over 50 games this season, man. What are we expecting from Jac Cags as he makes his major league debut in this first stint along his hopefully long career?
I'm expecting a lot of chase out of the zone. It seems to be that's his big league red flag. He chases pitches out of the zone almost like nobody else. But I also expect some big power. If someone leaves a mistake in the heart of the zone, this dude's going to crush it. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He has 80 power, and he gets to it in games when it's in the strike zone. I think that when he does start to dial back the chase, then we could be talking about one of the more prolific, consistent power hitters. I just think he needs to become a touch more selective.
I think so. The chase has been forever the bugaboo with Jac Cags, right, Reese? But I think that it makes sense because with a guy like Jac Cags who has this big power, and I mean, it's not just regular big power. This is big power that walks up and introduces itself as, I like to fight, folks. And I think that the thing with Cags is he's going to chase a little bit. It's going to happen because you've got to swing the bat to get to that big power. Hopefully over his career, we can see some kind of a balance between discipline and really unleashing the daddy hack power that he was known for. Along those lines, Reese, if we're looking at kind of 90th percentile outcomes of maybe we do see the discipline kind of evolve to meet that power, what's a ceiling for Jac Caglianone with the Royals?
I don't know what the ceiling can be for someone with this sort of power. Like I said, when he makes contact, it's loud contact. So I mean, we saw it yesterday, right? Victor Scott, he almost hit a double, and Victor Scott, who's one of the better defenders in center field, took it away from him. So I mean, the upside is maybe a 40 home run bat. Maybe, he has the sort of power that makes any ballpark look small. You're not worried about ballparks, let him play in Comerica or any of the other pitcher-friendly ballparks when Jac Caglianone steps up to the bat. He has that sort of power.
No, certainly Stanton-esque power. Is that a fair? I mean, let's one asset of his game, the power. Let's say, is that Giancarlo Stanton-esque at peak?
I think it's a touch below, but it's like you're swimming in the same end of the pool.
I love it. I like that metaphor as well. Thank you. So here's the big question, man. You've talked about it. You have incited the rage of Royals fans, something that's kind of happening around the game now in Prospects Live, it feels like. So we're used to that. But do we think that there's any rationale behind Kansas City saying, more time in Omaha for you, Jax, but we'll see you in a bit? Or is it, this is a long-term fixture, you're our guy, here you are, for better or worse?
I think that they think it's for that he's up for better or for worse, and I hope for their sake it's for better because Bobby Witt is one of the most electric players in all of baseball. Salvador Perez's continued success has been, pretty outstanding. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but he's a Hall of Very Gooder, if that makes sense. And then he can add to that lineup that needs to be extended out a little bit longer. They need more cromulent major league at bats. Hunter Renfroe wasn't getting it done. I think that they hope that he can provide that spark, that middle of the order bat this lineup most really needs.
I agree. So let's talk less about Jack and more about this as a representation of kind of what we're seeing with prospects as a whole, though. Do you think that this call up puts any pressure on any other top prospects, or I guess more importantly, their organizations? Boston, Roman Anthony. Excuse me.
I wish this put more pressure on them to call up Roman Anthony, but at this point, they're coming up with every excuse not to. And to be fair, they do have a loaded outfield. They don't really have a spot for him. I mean, they're going to start coming up with weird diseases that we've never heard of for a reason to keep him down because we're talking about a guy with similar-ish power upside who can really help out a team that the Red Sox need some reinforcements. That maybe they put Roman Anthony at first base. It's just there's a lot that this team needs, and I think hopefully this puts the right amount of pressure on them. But they've shown no willingness to budge.
Reese just got word Roman Anthony, terrible case of Count Choculatus. Devastating news. The Red Sox come up with another break, though. Speaking of breaking out of the minor leagues, Cole Young, the number 2 prospect for the Seattle Mariners. Young was slashing 277, 392, 461. That's an OPS of 853 with 54 games with Triple-A Tacoma. 5 home runs and 26 ribs in his season this year. A walk-off in his debut with the Mariners. Can't beat that, man. What's the impact looking like if we had to put pen to paper for what Cole Young is going to mean for the Mariners in 2025?
I think that he provides them a Cal Raleigh, a running mate, possibly. He needs some help offensively. He can't do it all, and honestly, Cal Raleigh needs to get. He's been catching every game this season. I think he needs to get some, time off of his, back behind the squat. But Cole Young, I think that he provides about maybe he's a top. He's your old school one hitter, a lot of contact. I think there's a little bit more power there, and he's shown that this year. 5 home runs in the minor leagues. Like we're talking about a guy who went from, we were questioning whether he had enough power to impact baseball. So now it's more than enough. I don't think it's Jacob Wilson-esque contact, but it's still enough contact with enough power that you do have to treat him as a major league. Pitchers have to attack him, in certain ways. They can't just leave pitches over the heart of the plate and say you're not going to do any damage, so we don't respect you. He's got really good plate discipline. He's got really good plate skills. I think that he can kind of be about above league average player if everything works out for him.
Well said. So if you're expecting this year at least, maybe league average, maybe a touch below that if we're being kind of really realistic, just because of the growing pains that are going to be associated with reaching this level of the game for the first time. Do you think, two-parted question, Reese, one, is this a permanently up or are we going to see some up and down with Young? And then part 2, does this affect the Mariners trade deadline plans? Could this be a stopgap for more offense or is it maybe more of a fluid situation than we think in Seattle?
I think that he is the solution to second base for them because let's be real, their second base hasn't really been, all that productive for them. And I think that he allows them to explore different ways to upgrade the roster. Third base, maybe even right field. They have a bunch of different ways in which they can impact. They can now with him up, they can figure out whether he's a major leaguer or not. They have an opportunity to attack different weak spots of the lineup, and there are plenty.
There are. Plenty of room for improvement, but Cole Young, one of those for sure. From one young, exciting prospect to another, Tampa Bay Rays, they have sent speedster Chandler Simpson back to AAA. This was all the buzz over social media the last couple of days. Number 5 prospect in their system was hitting 285, 315, 317 with 11 stakes, 19 stolen bases. Despite these numbers, Reese, Simpson had a negative .1 WAR. And the recurring narrative on social that I picked up on was Tampa Bay's not running a fantasy team. They are running a team that is trying to win real life baseball games. And that's fine. And I certainly have my opinions on that. But I'm curious, in your opinion, is it just Simpson's defense wasn't what we saw in AA and AAA? Or is it just he's not hitting for any power and we need a little bit more sauce out of our outfielders?
So I think that it's because he's a pretty bad defender in center field, and I think that's something that can get changed and everything like that. Coming up, facing the best pitchers in the world, and there's a lot that's on his mind, right? And I think that one of the reasons he got sent down, honestly, is it's a 285 empty batting average, 285 empty batting average, and a 300 310 empty batting average are two totally different things entirely. Um, and honestly, if you're not having an impact at 285, there's no real spot for you. And they do have an opportunity to see if Jake Mangum's anything. They have a chance to sort of run through some of their other options as well, because it's not like the Rays are struggling for options. The stolen bases were nice, but he wasn't a good defensive center fielder. He wasn't a good defensive corner outfielder, and his empty batting average kind of really wasn't providing anything, especially if he's not getting on base, at over a 31% of the clip. So he needs to kind of work on that a little bit.
Okay, so then let's make a list of things. Assume you were the kind of director of development for Simpson specifically. What notes do we need him to work on in AAA?
Become a little bit more selective at the plate. Maybe try to find a way to impact more batted balls, whether that's lower line drives or hitting the ball on the ground. Maybe even hit the ball on the ground to touch more, allow that speed to play up, and allow the chaos that I think that he can provide in offense. But that's sort of what and he obviously needs to work on his reads and his jumps in center field, because he's kind of skating by with elite athleticism, like elite speed, and he's kind of just relying on that.
I think so. Real quick timeline. When are we going to see Simpson back with a major league club? Maybe not even necessarily the Rays.
I think that we see him maybe in the last couple weeks of the season. If he doesn't work on some of these things, then they say you really need to work on these. This is what you're going to work on in the offseason.
There you go. All right, super quickly, the Mets expected to promote number 10 prospect Ronnie Mauricio. Mark Vientos, injured hamstring. Unfortunate for him. Mauricio Kid knows a little bit about that. Winter Ball 2024, he just finished rehabbing an ACL injury. In 2025 this year, 323, 384, 508 slash line, 3 home runs, 11 RBI. The 3 homers came in AAA Syracuse over a 9-game span. What could Ronnie Mauricio bring to the New York Mets? And Reese, what's his ceiling?
I think that he can bring a little bit of offensive punch, because it's not like Mark Vientos has had the greatest season to start the season. I think you'll figure it out. And then his ceiling may be a little less than Mark Vientos is. Maybe it's like 20 to 25 home runs as opposed to the 30 home run power that I think Vientos has. I think he's a perfectly fine fill-in right now for the Mets, who are one of the better teams in baseball, despite what you would think their fans are talking about on social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Mets fans, first world problems for sure. So curious, you compared him to Vientos. Where does Mauricio's speed fall versus Vientos's in terms of those different aspects of the game?
I think he has a little bit more speed, but it's less speed than he used to have, obviously, because the injuries started to stack up for Mauricio.
That was the point that I was hoping. That is going to bring us to our first break here on Path to the Show on Bally Sports Live and Stadium. We've got a lot more to talk about. We've got players who are raking in the minor leagues who may just eventually earn some of these call-ups we have talked about. But Reese, if you have a moment, we're going to take it to a few brief messages. And in that interim, I'm going to have to introduce myself. I'm going to have to fight myself and get me in line so that when we get back, we're going to be able to talk about some of the hottest starts in 2025. So sit right there on that couch. We'll be right back.
Visit prospectslive.com for top prospects rankings, video, scouting reports, and live action write-ups. Join their Patreon and get exclusive insights to dominate your fantasy league. Stream every 2025 MILB game for free on Bally Sports Live. Triple, double, high, or single A, it's all here. And it's always free on Bally Sports Live.
Welcome back into Path to the Show here on Bally Sports Live and Stadium. We're through the first 2 months of the MILB season, and we have seen some really hot stretches over the first 2 months of the season. Let's take a look at who's really lighting it up in the minors right now, and let's talk about one of the more under-discussed prospects in Carson Benj. I think Carson Benj kind of suffers from vanilla-itis. I know we just recently diagnosed Roman Anthony with a new disease. Let's give Carson Benj one. He's currently hitting 304, 425, 500 with an OPS of 925 for those keeping track at home. He has 4 home runs and 26 RBIs in the season. He currently has the 6th best batting average and 4th best OBP in the South Atlantic League. Do you think that we should see him up in Double-A here soon, Drew?
I do. And I love your diagnosis, Dr. Reese. Vanillitis is something that Carson Bench is absolutely suffering from. Keep in mind at home, if you're wondering, kind of why does this guy feel so boring? Well, it's probably just because he's getting his feet under him. You got to keep in mind, Oklahoma State used this guy as a pitcher and a hitter. So now that he's kind of strictly a batter, we're seeing dividends paid in excess. In his senior campaign, pay off. Now, paying off. So what we're seeing is hopefully a guy who can mold himself into some kind of combination of what we got in the major leagues from like Alex Gordon and peak Andrew Benintendi to be a really, really successful major leaguer. Right now, we're seeing everything kind of play out exactly as we've wanted. We've seen the speed persist. The decision-making is held strong. He's walking about 16% of the time in Class A Advanced with a 307, 424, 497 slug. It's a great slash line, and I think Double A is pretty much in his path at this point for Bench.
He's still a little ways away from Queens. What do you think the timeline for him is, and what position do you think he debuts as with the big league squad?
Oh boy, oh boy. Let's go with right field, and he will debut in July 2026.
I'm with you 100%. Let's move on to someone else from that 2024 draft class, Trey Yesavage. He is finally up. He got his passport stamped. He's up with the Vancouver Canadians. He has excelled in his 2 starts at this level, starting at single A. In single A, he posted a 3-0 record with a 2.43 ERA over 33 and a 1/3 innings. He has been promoted to high A, as I mentioned earlier, and he's continued to be dominant. He has a 1.46 ERA over 3 starts with 24 strikeouts in 12 and a third innings. Can Yesavage quickly climb through the minors? And what is his ceiling, and when do you expect him in Toronto? I feel like I asked you just a lot of questions there.
That's okay. Let's go through them one at a time. What are we looking at with Yesavage? I believe was your first one. Great pitches. It's a strong arsenal with an over-the-top slot. The fastball is mid-90s, but it has great carry in the zone. He commands it well. This is a guy that did not skimp on the side dishes, though. There's a mid-80s slutter, which is one of my favorite pitches, the kind of slide cutter. It is a gyroscopic spin, Reese, which you've heard me discuss ad nauseum. That's probably my favorite pitch. The splitter is another good one. It kind of just, I don't know the right word, Reese, but it's very sharp in the zone, kind of like, I can't think of it. I can't think of a word. My English has escaped me. And then you got a curveball that just drops right off the table. It's a command-oriented profile. And honestly, I think Yesavage is a little bit buried just underneath the fact that we got to see 2 pitchers in Hagen Smith and Chase Burns who were elite of elite, whereas Yesavage in a standard college draft would have been a primo addition to the minor leagues. I think that Jamie Arnold, if we can make a direct comparison, is probably closer to Yesavage than the other 2, but I think he fits somewhere in that middle. So if that gives you an idea of the talent here, Trey Yesavage is outstanding. It was a phenomenal pickup for the Blue Jays, and it's exciting to see him, like you said, get that passport stamped.
Yeah, I think we see him honestly in 2026. Because I mean, honestly, in any other organization, he might be up quickly, but the Blue Jays are slow playing him. I think the ceiling is, I think he's a ready-made 3 with maybe a two season, like SP2 season during his peak years. But I think we need to move on here. Someone who we're gonna take a trip down to the Great Lakes region and Great Lakes Loons with Zaire Hope. Zaire Hope, one of the better prospects in all of baseball, slashing 301, 393, 503 with an OPS of 896. He currently has 7 home runs and 35 RBIs. He is 5th in the Midwest League in home runs and 4th in RBIs. When do you think we'll see him get promoted to Double A? And what's his timeline with the Dodgers?
Promotions, it's difficult to say. Timelines, difficult to say. Reese, I don't know much about the Great Lakes. I'll leave that area of our beautiful country to you, but I'll tell you what is loony, and that's Zaire Hope's power. And so when you have that kind of an asset to your name, it's difficult to really count anything out. So when is Double A going to be in the cards for Zaire Hope? Probably before the end of this season. I'd say probably before the end of 2025. We've seen 51 games of exquisite ball thus far at Class A Advanced with the Dodgers. I think that time is limited. I really, if anything, at this point, man, I think the major issue we need to see with Hope is just, can he limit his strikeouts a little bit more? If we can see that just trickle downward, he could be a truly elite prospect. And honestly, it's one of those kind of generational talents that I think could even break through the logjam in Los Angeles, as baffling as that seems to say, because there's been guys who have been immensely talented that we haven't even given that level of credit to. I think Hope might be that kind of guy. And then in the majors, dude, Let's say 2027, just for safety. I'm going to go with August 6th, 2027. Write it down.
Okay, I'll hold you to that. When we come back and record next season, I'll definitely have to bring that up. Let's finish this out with one more prospect. He's really under the radar. We can't always just talk about the big guys and everything like that. We need
Yeah,
to show some
we
love
like to be
to lower ranked prospects. Shout out to the Hub City Spartanburgers with David DeVio. He has been one of the better pitchers in all of the minor leagues for the past 2 seasons. Shout out to Evan, who is bringing up how awesome he's been. And honestly, he's been really flying under the radar. We're talking about one of the better statistical performers in all the low minors. He's been dominant this season. The 1.02 ERA over 44 and a third innings. He has struck out 61 batters and only walked 9. He's currently 4-0 over 9 starts. Why do you think he's ranked so low? Do we need to reevaluate that? And do you think there's a promotion for him to go up to Double A here soon?
Is there a promotion in line for Davalillo? Yes, absolutely there is. I think that a 36% strikeout rate with a 5% walk rate, that plays anywhere. Not to mention the fact he's 22. He's shown that he can excel against competition. This is his second go-around with Class A Advanced, and he's done immaculately in both of these instances. At this point, he's only gotten better. So let's kind of use what we saw with his last promotion to a level, his last 2 promotions from 2023 stint in A ball to 2024. Numbers improved on every front. And then again, his first step to Class A Advanced to now, everything is improved. So what my logic is saying, we are going to see Davalillo in 2025 with Double A, and the next season he may take the jump to either Triple A or to the major leagues. I always like to slow play guys, especially pitchers, just to make sure that they're okay as we're coming along. So I'll say early 27 for Davalillo. And then should he be ranked higher? Absolutely, he should. Look at what he's doing. Why shouldn't he?
You know who should be ranked higher? Us. And we got to take a break here so that we can bump up our rankings and everything like that. Coming up, we're going to recap last week around the minor league baseball. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I think you've got 60 grade nicknames, if not better.
Visit prospectslive.com for top prospects rankings, video, scouting reports, and live action write-ups. Join their Patreon and get exclusive insights to dominate your fantasy league. Stream every 2025 MILB game for free on Bally Sports Live. Triple, double, high, or single A, it's all here. And it's always free on Bally Sports Live.
Welcome back, friends. It is time for the final bit of our episode of Path to the Show on Bally Sports Live and Stadium for the Day. Don't cry. We still have a little bit more to talk about. Reese, a lot of teams really killing it right now. Hot starts to the 2025 minor league baseball season. Let's talk about one in particular who is near and dear to your heart. The high A affiliate of your Detroit Tigers. Go off, King. The West Michigan Whitecaps. They are 36-15 as of this recording. 8-game streak. What's in the water?
What's in the water is you have 3 of the best hitting prospects in all of baseball, honestly. Top 100 prospects in my mind. We're talking about Josue Perseno, Max Clark, and Kevin McGonigal. Josue Perseno is hitting 262 with 12 home runs, and he just came off the IL too. 37 RBIs. Max Clark has been consistently awesome. 259 batting average, but he's drawing a walk like crazy. The power started to tick up too, and 30 with 31 RBIs. Kevin McGonigal's back. The professor is back, and he is showing a masterclass on how to hit. 500 batting average, 12 RBIs, 1.423 ERA. This is a team that's so good. They are lapping the field in the Midwest League. We're talking about a 124 run differential, and the next closest team in the Midwest League has a 46. We're talking about almost 80 run differential between these 2 teams. That is pretty crazy, especially at this point of the season. We're talking about one of the better minor league teams that we have. They have a great hat. They have a great stadium. They have great players. Everything's sort of going well in Grand Rapids.
Absolutely. They have a great fan too. And you, Reese. Tell the folks at home where they can find you between our episodes, by the way.
They can find me everywhere over Prospects Live. I'm writing every day. We are doing recordings every day. I'm going to be, we're on our podcast and on deck. And if you can swing it $5 a month, I think gets you some of the best content out there in the entire game. You can find me over on Twitter at Reese B. White. You can find me on the Daily Sheets. You can find me on the College Daily Sheets. We are going to also start doing live streams and stuff. So we got a lot going on at Prospects Live. And again, if you have it within the budget, I think $5 a month is more than enough for some of the best content, whether that's fun and there's fun vibes, there's analysis, and there's everything that you sort of want in the baseball, especially prospect sphere.
Absolutely. And for whatever reason, if you want to keep up with me, you may do so on the Twitter machine on Blue Sky at Drew is okay. What a fun episode it's been. We have talked a lot of great stuff, Reese. And you know what? I think we ought to do this all season long. So if you'll join us next time, we'll be right here. Same bat time, same bat channel for Bats of the Show, Valley Sports Live and Stadium. We'll see you next time. Toodaloo.
Visit prospectslive.com for top prospects rankings, video, scouting reports, and live action write-ups. Join their Patreon and get exclusive insights to dominate your fantasy league.